Hey everyone, this is Chris, and you're listening to One Cross Radio. And today we are joined by nobody. It's just me. And you might be wondering, Chris, what the heck is wrong with your voice? Well, I'll be honest, true believer. Sorry, I had to. Given the topic today, I had to include that. I am under the weather. I am actually recording this while sick. I've unfortunately been sick for about the last, going on 5 days. Is it 5? Maybe 6. Where I've got a viral lung infection. Thankfully, I'm on antibiotics, and I'm waiting on word if it's COVID. Hopefully it's not. I don't believe it is. We'll find out soon enough, and I've been playing it super safe and isolating as much as possible, and only going out to go to the pharmacy. And yeah. Anyways, this is more so to just get me out of my head, because whenever I get sick and I can't do much, my anxiety just goes into overload. It's like it gets an adrenaline shot instead of the rest of me while I'm exhausted. So I'm trying to repurpose that at least as much as I can. And I am so sorry about my voice. This is just more so just I wasn't going to do it, and then I'm like, nah, you got to do it. You got to do it. It's to get past the anxiety so I can actually rest and get better. So if you couldn't tell by today's topic, we are talking about the, up until I'd say about 5 or 6 years ago, the very lesser known, borderline infamous Japanese Spider-Man show. And the reason I say borderline infamous is it's not infamous for any bad reasons. It's just for a long time it wasn't known. And then now it's approaching that spot within the fandom and outside of the fandom because of excellent documentary series. Earth 616 on Disney Plus, where the first episode looked at Japanese Spider-Man. But also it's spreading into the awareness because the character appeared into the Spider-Verse, the numerous Spider-Verse comic books, as well as he's starting to get his own merch. I'm looking at his Funko Pop just right behind my laptop here. And he will be showing up in the into the Spider-Verse sequel. I just can't remember what it's called because it looks insanely dope. And I think he fits there because he's one of the most out there adaptations of Spider-Man. And I use adaptation loosely because adaptation's a weird word because it can define something that's like trying to go for it exactly, where it's like, hey, we've got characters named Peter Parker, whose Uncle Ben died, and like all 3 of the live action Spider-Mans from 2000 onwards, because there was one in the 70s, I haven't watched it. It looked horrible TV show. And then there's this Spider-Man, but he's not playing Peter Parker. So I'm looking at Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland. And they're kind of their own adaptations. But adaptations can also describe Takuya Yamashiro, who is the Spider-Man in the Japanese Spider-Man show. And he was played by, give me one sec, I want to get the actor's name correctly. He was played by Shinji Toto, and both Shinji Toto and, sorry, I'm just trying to get the guy who played Spider-Man in the suit. Hirofumi Koga, as well as Ryusuke Sakitsu. Both of those gentlemen played Spider-Man, were the suit actor for Spider-Man, whereas Shinji Todo was the non-suit version of Spider-Man. He was Takuya Yamashiro. And it's one of those things where you can almost tell it's kind of obvious when you watch the show that it's a different person in the show, because the show is very much not only a product of its time, being the 70s, and there's more to get into, but fashion senses and Takuya Yamashiro, and then the actor, of course, Shinji Todo, had huge poofy hair that when you see the suit, and it's a little bit of a tighter suit, that ain't gonna fit. So you can kind of see that. So it is an adaptation, but in the very loose sense, and that's where I actually absolutely love it, and I do consider it a fantastic adaptation, because it's such a loose one where the only thing being lifted from the comics really is there's a character named Spider-Man who wears the iconic spider suit, and he shoots webs and has some grab bag of spider-like powers, and that's it. And also a father character dies. But that's it. The rest of it is a clean slate. And I think it works to its benefit because of that. Although, don't get me wrong, I'd be very, very curious to see what a full-on adaptation of such an American property as Spider-Man would be in Japan if they still kept it as Peter Parker, but they seeped it in Japanese culture and also targeted it at adults, because make no mistake, the Japanese Spider-Man show was for kids, and that's also part of its charm. Yeah, I can't sugarcoat it. I actually friggin' love this show. I started watching it last year, before I got sick, and then I haven't been sick for a year, but I started watching it last year, and the nice thing is it's like many Sentai shows where no offense to Sentai shows as much as I love them, it's not, they're very episodic, so they lend themselves to, you can watch like 1 to 5 or however at a time, leave it alone for a while and pick it back up. They don't have the you gotta keep watching what's happening next, that like they don't have that I must watch aspect of the binge. They do lend themselves to binging, because when you're not feeling well or you're looking for a light bonkers fun time, this delivers. But it's not like a modern streaming show where you're like, I gotta watch it now kind of thing. So let's dive in, because I do love this, and I'm attaching the link to the show in the show notes so you guys can check it out for yourselves. The main reason I'm doing it is because it's incredibly hard to find in North America. It was produced by Toei. I'm not sure if there's even an official DVD set available in North America. If there was, depending on the cost, I'd actually consider it. It'd be a fun thing in the collection. But I'll attach the link. It's on the wonderful Internet Archive. Okay, so I just want to give a little bit of details to set it up, and I'm not going through the entirety of the show, because for y'all who are uninformed, more or less, and I don't mean that dismissively, it's just if you're uninitiated to Sentai or anime, or a lot of Japanese shows, you don't know. So the average season of television in North America is about, let's say, it used to be 20 to 22 episodes. Now it could be anywhere from 8 to 16. If you're on cable, there's a good chance you're still going for the 20 to 22, but that's kind of changing. It's with the advent of streaming and everything, stuff's becoming more streamlined. There are still shows that are going to be that long and episodic, but it's not the absolute norm where everything was. Now it's almost, it varies depending on your platform. Sentai, or in the case of anime as well, those seasons go long. Like the friggin' this show. Sorry, I'm stalling because I was debating looking something up, and you know what? I might. But this show, Spider-Man, affectionately nicknamed Suboidaman, based on the pronunciation of the announcer. And I actually might attach that spelling in the title slide. We'll see, because I'm not trying to be disrespectful. That thing has this sucker has like 41 episodes, 41, 42, something like that. Plus a half-hour movie. I'm just getting an official count, and Zyuranger, the Sentai that the first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was based off of, and the original name of Zyuranger is Kyoru Sentai Zyuranger. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm trying to do honor with the pronunciation. That sucker's got 50 episodes. Dai Ranger, the Gosei Sentai Dai Ranger, the sequel, the next season, which Mighty Morphin Season 2 loosely adapted, 50 episodes. If you look at the original run of Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, and I'm talking the anime, not the reduxes like the Crystal or Kai, where they cut out the filler, it's long, homie. They go long. And I'm just getting the official episode count. Here we go. It's up on the Internet Archive. I freaking love this, that it's there. It's actually so awesome. Okay, so while that loads and I get the episode count, I'm gonna give a little bit more feedback behind it. So the main character, instead of Peter Parker, his name is, like I said, Takuya Yamashiro, and in Marvel, this is canon. It's one of the multiverses. It's Earth 51778. Takuya was a motocross driver. He was the son of an astrophysicist whose name was Dr. Hiroshi Yamashiro, and he would be Takuya would become this reality Spider-Man. While he was practicing his motorbike, he began to get strange telepathic messages from a being named Gaira, who was calling out to him. His sister Shinko and his girlfriend Hitomi Sakuma asked for his assistance investigating a crashed ship, which turned out to be the awesome mech, or you could almost call it his Megazord, Leopardon. Friggin', of course he has one. And it's awesome. So he's like, nah, I can't go. I gotta go to this race. I'm training for a race. And then basically his father goes to investigate. And then after the race, he's like, wait, what's going on? And then he finds out from his sister and his girlfriend that his father is missing. Wait, sorry. I just lost my spot in my train of thought. So his father went missing. So Takuya, he looked and he found out that his father was missing and had been attacked. He found his father dying and his father asked him to continue his work in discovering what the heck these alien invaders near this crashed ship, why they were there and why they were trying to conquer Earth. This all sounds very non-Spider-Man-y, but it is very, very Japanese. And that's one of the very fun things about this, is it's taking a character that doesn't normally go into Sentai and applying him there. And not only that, as you're applying him to Sentai, it also changed Sentai, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So after tearfully saying goodbye to his father, and what I'll call a good performance, because the actor's father had recently passed, so even though he was acting, he put a lot of that in his performance. He went to find out what was going on, and then he was attacked by the villain of the series. They are called the Iron Cross Army. He was gravely injured by them, and he fell into a cave where Gyra was imprisoned. Gyra saved his life by giving him the spider bracelet, which within it had the spider extract, and he informed Takuya of the invasion by the Iron Cross Army, who is led by Professor Monster and his lead henchwoman. I'm just trying to get her name. Sorry, give me one sec. And the lead henchwoman, whose name is Amazonas. I friggin' love these villain names. They're so awesome. And so Professor Monster, he, just to give a little bit more info, he's the leader of the Iron Cross Army. He's responsible for the destruction of Gyra's planet. So let me spell this out. So in the comic books, Peter Parker, children come out the womb knowing Peter's story. Bit by a radioactive spider, gains spider-like abilities. Not the case with Takuya. He's given the spider bracelet, which has the spider extract, and everything he does, like when he shoots webs out of this bracelet, it's like spider. He yells spider string, and when he webs people, it's spider net, and he calls it. So it's very rooted in Sentai, in Sentai sensibilities, and what's the word? I just can't think of it. Beyond sensibilities, but it's freaking, what's the word? Why can't I think of it? Anyways, it'll come back to me. So he's to save him, Gyra, once he gets that bracelet on him, it stabs him with the spider extract, which contains the spider blood. But it is from a people from this planet called Planet Spider. I kid you not. It's friggin' wonderful. So then, of course, Planet Spider was destroyed 400 years earlier by Professor Monster, and now Professor Monster is seeking to conquer Earth. And this dude's immortal, and he feeds on the blood of other life forms. I was about to say, I would so much rather a Professor Monster movie or a Japanese Spider-Man movie than friggin' Michael Morbius. Anyways, sorry, I need to sip more drink. Sorry about that. Because I'm not feeling well, the drink I am sipping has veggie powder, so I'm getting the needed proteins and stuff, and then friggin' another powder that gives me electrolytes because as I'm sick, I'm not hydrated enough. Moving on. Yeah, I would so much rather that. Tropes, that's it. I was thinking of the word tropes. Okay, so let's look at Takuya's powers. So he has superhuman strength, superhuman speed, rapid healing, wall crawling, super hearing, super smell, night vision, X-ray vision. So some of these Spider-Man has. I don't believe Spider-Man can see on an X-ray level. I also don't believe that Spider-Man has the power to communicate with spiders. Takuya also has precognitive dreams. He does have a spider sense, although in this case, the spider sense is more of a voice in his head that guides him rather than just danger detection. Takuya can also transfer his power to others through his Type B blood. He has superhuman stamina, durability, agilities, and reflexes. He is also a master martial artist. He's got some detective skills. He has the ability of the indomitable will. He is a master acrobat, and he also has the spider kick. Friggin' love it. I love it. I love this so much. So his suit is technically named the Spider Protector. So this outfit is stored in his bracelet. So when he's in his human form, he's got this big, bulky silver bracelet on. When he's in his Spider-Man form, he's got the big bulky bracelet. And when he changes into the suit shoots out. The visual in the show is outstanding. It shoots out and then just lands on him, in front of him, but just this empty suit. And then it like auto zips up over him, so it's fun. Except somehow, even though it's over him, it goes under the bracelet. But in the bracelet as well, it's got the spider string, the net, the extract, the thing that gave him the powers. It also has the bracelet also has a homing device that allows him to summon the GP7, which is his car, because the Spider-Man has a race car, which is very, very Sentai. It also summons the Marveler, which is the ship that can then transform into the Megazord like a Leopardon. I love this show. It's so awesome. It's so awesome. And it also functions as a multi-purpose tool that can detect minds, identifies the extraterrestrials, including the foot soldiers of the show called the Ninders. aka on the Marvel website, they're just listed as the henchmen. They are basically people basically, how do I describe it? I gotta look up a picture. Give me a second. It's that's one thing I'll say. The suit for them isn't the best. I'll give it that. The suit is not the best. It's basically a form-fitting gray suit with a black belt, black boots, black a black visor, and then a big bird beak. It's really weird. And then the suit helps him detect who the Ninders really are, because when they're out and about, they're just looking like regular old humans. So the tech really helps him. Okay, so I can't summarize the entire show, because I'll also be honest, I haven't watched the entire show, but I'm going to, because it is honestly, pun intended, marvelous fun. To the point that I almost wish that there would be, I would love it if Marvel would do a comic continuing the adventures of this take of the character. I'd also love to see this take of the character have a little bit more seriousness, just because as much as I love the show and love it how it is, like I've kind of said, it is like there's no getting around. So your mileage might vary, but things to keep in mind if you click the link to check out the show, aside from Chris just thinking, hey, this is awesome. It is very much, it's not targeted for North Americans. It was not made with us in mind at all. It is a very Japanese show. It is a very Japanese children's show. And it is a very Japanese children's show of the late 70s. All of that is something you should keep in mind if you check this out. If you haven't dabbled into Sentai or anime outside of what we've gotten in North America, it's really friggin' weird. It's wonderfully weird, but it's really friggin' weird. A lot of Japanese media is. I don't mean that disrespectfully or to shoot anything down. But it's true. If you're uninitiated with the stuff, you can just be like, what the hell is going on? Sorry, the hell was unnecessary. But it is kind of on theme, and I'll get to it. You could just be like, what is all this? Like, it doesn't make any it's not going to make sense to you. But if you've watched enough Sentai or other things, you're like, all right, it's a force from space with an evil leader, a lead general, and a bunch of hench people, and a lot of people are just like, okay, they're along for the ride in the show. That's what a lot of the fans who have watched this for a long period of time, did I say purity of time? Long period of time, are like. We're just like, yep, nope, this is par for the course, let's roll. But for the uninitiated, you almost got to kind of get past it. And once, that's why I'd say maybe do the show in a couple small doses so you can get an idea, or quickly check out. I know the official Power Rangers YouTube channel has a number of the early seasons, the Zordon seasons, up on their channel now. Go back and check out a couple episodes of there just for almost a refresher. It's still going to be different from those because those were Americanized, but it'll still kind of get you into that a bit of the Sentai headspace. And yeah, don't expect it to be like any other Spider-Man you've watched, because no other Spider-Man has a giant friggin' Megazord. And then let me see, just because I get this Spider-Man also, he's very, very different from Peter Parker, aside from like having mechs and stuff. His whole thing isn't about like, his whole motivation wasn't great power comes great responsibility. His friggin' thing is revenge. Like, he's motivated by revenge. He's out to slay the Iron Cross army in vengeance for killing his father and then Gyra. So and as revenge for the inherited memories of Planet Spider. So it's very, very different. And also in the nicknames that he gives himself. Now, some of these also are going to be quite different because cultural differences. And some of this I can point to future Sentais, being in Jew Ranger, when they adapted the footage with Bandora into Rita in Power Rangers, as they overdubbed, they took out some of the stuff where there's a lot of cultural differences. So for them, like, Bandora at one point was legitimately invoking the name of Satan. She was, I think she even said, I can't remember the exact line, but like, I invoke you, Satan, or I call upon you, the great devil. And she's evil, she's a witch. So do with that what you will. But that's not Yeah, that's something they left out. And in this, because I'm not quite sure, but to my knowledge, in Japanese culture, spiders can have a very not good message. I'm not trying to be correct here. I'm just also not 100% sure. Actually, wait. Let me just do a quick search. What do spiders symbolize in Japanese culture? This is why Chris needed to do notes. Okay, so in Japanese superstitious culture, at least rumored anyway, is spiders at night can be a sign of bad luck and a sign of evil, and in morning they can be seen as good luck. So he was, the character was almost like invoking an image of fear to do justice, in a way very Batman-esque. But he workshopped a couple titles for himself, and Japanese Spider-Man is probably most famously known. Earlier I mentioned he's become more known in the past couple of years because of documentaries. The show was for at least a couple months available on the Marvel website in 2009. Sorry, give me a sec. Sorry about that. I hope you can hear me. But he called himself, and it was also, so through the Marvel website, but then through memes, as it's been slowly expanding online. You've gotten a number of excellent memes from the screen caps, and then a couple years ago, even Screen Junkies did an honest trailer. But the first time he introduces himself to the Iron Cross Army, he goes, "The emissary of hell, Spider-Man." And that's a frequent one he goes to, but he also calls himself the Iron Cross Killer, the Invincible Spider-Man, and also the Man with a Burning Passion, amongst other names. There's so many. Okay, so the other things I'll say about the show is it in a weird way it's to a degree undervalued in its place, just because it's only slowly becoming more known in North America just how much of an impact like it actually had. Because make no mistake, homies, it did have a big impact. Now, it was never intended to be released over here. It was never supposed to be. So that's why they were just kind of Marvel and Stan Lee worked out the deal. That's why it was a lot looser. Like, yeah, no, go for it. I'm thankful to TV Tropes for their article. I'll also link it, just because there's a number of funny things on here. So he, Stan Lee set up the deal with Marvel and Toei to do this. But then some of the changes that came along the way was like Toei, of course, looking at toy sales being a thing, they're like, all right, we got to do more than just have Spider-Man, because you buy one and that's it. And it wasn't like Sentai, where at the time, Sentai hadn't become super yet. And you know what? Now's a good time to unpack that. Sentai is now, of course, known around the world as like Super Sentai because of the phenomena of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and through services like Shout Factory and Tubi, I believe, at least in Canada, having a number of the earlier shows on earlier Sentais available on their streaming service. Like at the time, Sentai it was lacking some of the things that would become Sentai tropes. It was more like there were still multicolored superheroes, but it was more of a spy show. In mechs hadn't been introduced yet, so Sentai had about 2 seasons, and reportedly they were. It wasn't like it was popular, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, something that will be going, that for now I think has been going for 50 plus years in Japan. Sorry, give me a sec. Oh man, I don't feel good. It's more so just pain in the lungs and in the chest. Anyways, like it didn't have the mechs. Mechs were something that was popular in anime, and anime was very, very popular, but it was still in just strictly in animation. Spider-Man, or Spider-Man, was the first Sentai show to incorporate a mech. So Super Sentai on out had the mech. Now, I'm not sure if Sentai had the car or the motorcycle or anything like that, but Japanese Spider-Man, I mean, Takuya was a motocross racer, so he'd drive around frequently on a motorcycle, but then having the what was it again? What was the tech? I think it was the Go 7? No. That's wrong. Sorry, it was the part of... Oh, yeah, the Spider Machine GP7, which was his flying car, which was also equipped with machine guns and missile launchers. I freaking love it. This is stuff that later Sentai shows, like, that would crop up in American adaptations of Power Rangers, where it was like, I remember Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, there was a one-off where I think they got the shark cycles or whatever. But in Sentai, the Zyurangers had their own motorcycles. Heck, they were in the title sequences. Some had their, I think Turbo, they had their car, like mini cars that acted as the motorcycles of that season before the Zords. Mega Ranger, the one that would become Power Rangers in Space, they had the, can't remember what they'd be called, because Mega Ranger was a video game themed season, not the space opera that Power Rangers in Space was, but they had like the Galaxy Gliders and all that. So those kind of tropes, including the various tech, the shouting out everything before you do it, the friggin' Megazord, all of that was because of this show. This show actually influenced and debatably saved Sentai, and it kicked Sentai from just being Sentai, and it kicked it into Super Sentai. So its legacy in terms of Japanese television and other properties is actually huge, and it deserves to be more known, and that's part of why I want to do this episode. The other tropes, of course, you can compare it to other Sentais with is the I don't want to say low budget dismissively, but I mean it didn't have a huge budget, so there was use of stock footage, especially with Leopard on. The editing got inventive with stock footage and repeating flips just to emphasize stuff. So it's got a lot of Sentai tropes, but I honestly highly encourage you guys to watch it. And the reason being, it's a super fun time. It really is, and it's nice to have, like, I'm on a bit of a Marvel kick. I really am, and it's kind of fun. But it's nice to have something where it's like, here's a familiar character that we know and love in Spider-Man, but an entirely different take. And beyond, like, the different takes that we get even within Marvel itself, where Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, he's not Peter Parker. He's not Irish Hispanic Peter Parker. Miguel's very much his own character. Just like Miles Morales isn't just... Miguel wasn't Irish Hispanic. What was he again? Because Miles is African and Hispanic. But the point is, Miles just isn't like, oh, it's Peter of a different... Oh, yeah, nope. Miguel is Irish and Mexican. And then Miles isn't, like, it's not just Peter of a different ethnicity. They're their own characters. They have some of their own unique powers, and they're a bit different, but they're still very, very much of the Spider-Man tradition. Whereas our boy Takuya Yamashiro, he he's loosely of the tradition, just because he's got the suit, he's got some spider abilities, he's got the dead father figure, in this case an actual dead father, but he's also very much a different, like a very different Spider-Man, because as much as I love Miguel, Miles, friggin' Silk, or even Mayday, all who are like, those are different characters than Peter, but you get what I mean. They're still very much like made in the North American mindset, because Spider-Man is very much a North American character, whereas this was taking a North American character and applying it to a very different culture with very different cultural sensibilities, very, very different entertainment sensibilities, and what they consider okay to feature in entertainment and all that jazz. And it creates a wonderfully unique viewing experience. I honestly, like, unironically, I love this character. He has become one of my most enjoyed Spider-Man, just because it also doesn't have that weight to it that so many of the Spider-Man properties, because they're much more of attempting a much more direct adaptation. For me, they've got a lot more like stakes, where it's like, I love a number of these stories and these characters, and when you do the stories wrong and the characters wrong, like, it bothers me. Right? It bothers me a lot as a fan. Whereas with Japanese Spider-Man, with Takuya Yamashiro, he's his own character. Like, he basically has this show and a couple appearances, like, in the Spider-Verse comics, and that's it. So it's a lot there's a lot less weight to him. There's a lot less continuity heavy stuff to him. It's a lot harder to screw him up. And I think there's still a lot of story room with this character. I would honestly love, like, a mini series from Marvel featuring this character. An animated show on Disney Plus would be outstanding. Actually, I'm doing another episode soon about new comic wish list, or Marvel wish list, so getting a preview of it with that. But even in a comic book form, like, I think there could be a lot of fun. And I'll point to a weird example. The title's no longer running, but I think about 5 to 10 years ago at this point, DC had launched a comic book line called Batman 66. And that comic actually got me to a place where I could actually love the 66 Batman show. Which is weird to say, because I know a lot of people just have that nostalgia and that love for it. But while I've enjoyed it as a Batman fan, I've also been like, man, that did some bad for it. It did some good for it when it came out, but how many people still looked at Robin as the pixie boot wearing character that Burt Ward was playing, that was a product of Batman in the 60s? Like, so many people still look at that as Robin. I'm like, that's not friggin' Robin. That's not Dick Grayson anymore. Just like I hate the Superfriends show because it ruined Aquaman for so many years. And that's the impression people still have of the character. But the Batman 66 comic basically picked up where that show left off, just in comic form, and I was able to be like, you know what, I really, really dig this. And it got me to be able to be like, you know what, I can separate the wider stuff and then just enjoy it, instead of just being like, you're ruining my fanboyishness. And then DC also did stuff, I think, with the Wonder Woman show. I think they did Wonder Woman 77 or something. Whatever the show was with Linda Carter, I think her name was. Yeah, and I would love if Marvel did something like that, but with Japanese Spider-Man. I think it could be a lot of fun. Would it be a huge success? Probably not. He's like Spider-Man is a massively popular character. The other Spider people, they've got their varying fandoms of varying sizes, but they're not all massively popular. This one would have a niche audience, but heck, I would buy it as soon as it was available. All right. All that being said, I can't change up my voice anymore. I gotta crash. Sitting for a while was nice, but now I gotta go from sitting to laying down. So let me see. Yep, that's actually about it. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of One Cross Radio. I'm sorry for the state of my voice. I hope you're all safe and feeling better than I am, and I hope everything is going great for you guys. Please continue to reach out as you have been. The odd word of encouragement and prayer means a lot. Honestly, it truly means so much, you guys. I cannot put it. I can't put it enough in words. How much it actually means, and just how encouraging and a pick me up, and it's very much needed. So thank you. I also want to encourage, if you can, if you think you can, please consider supporting us over our Patreon. We have a number of tiers, and we do exclusive content on there, and that's available at all tiers. And it starts at a small amount. If you can, that'd be wonderful. Don't get me wrong. Any support, being sharing, shouting out, and just mentioning is wonderful and encouraging. But it's just, if you think you can, please consider doing so. It truly means a lot as well. All that being said, I hope you have a wonderful day. Please check out this show. I don't think you'll regret it. I think there's a very good chance you'll be baffled. You'll be bamboozled, because it's quite bonkers. But it is a wonderful time. All that being said, that's like the 5th time I've said that. I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and God bless, my friends. Take care. Peace.
Spider-Man.